watching She Said. It's directed by Maria Schrader, and it haunts me. This movie joins the tradition of All the President's Men and Zodiac to deliver real-world information in a way that is compelling, tightly written, well-paced, and was intimidating to watch. Hotel rooms feel different after watching this. They're always a bit scary, I think, just the whole concept of them. And, you know, the whole thing about Airbnbs and cameras and all this other kind of sketchy stuff already. But I feel like nobody in a hotel room feels less safe than anyone who's ever been a victim. I've been thinking a lot about burnout and a lot about the powerlessness that people feel when they're faced with revelations like that come out in Spotlight and in... Oh. Duh. And a lot of times this information comes out and it feels like it's a call to action and you don't really know what action there is to take, especially in this case when it's all about the action that has been taken. This movie manages to communicate something that I feel like is lost in translation when people try and share their stories, and that is a first person or dissociated perspective on what people go through. Megan Twohey and Jodie Cantor hunted down information with a purpose of finding the truth, bringing that out into the light, and hoping that that makes the world a slightly better place. A sort of echo of that is this movie trying to depict that journey in a way that makes it clear, after having lived through the real world of all this information coming out, what it was like for them to take pieces of honesty and have to drag it out into a world that was going to pick it apart and tear it apart and question it and meet all the forces that have power over it. Everything from the sequences that feel familiar, like a character walking down a sidewalk and a car following too close until it speeds away, to just a still shot of the outside of a hallway in a hotel room with a recording playing, worked for me. This was something I strongly recommend that people watch for those key sequences alone, where you realize that the matter-of-fact insert shots give context to the details that people never consider. Ashtrays, window curtains, towels, everything that seems normal, but as a reaction to trauma becomes something painted by a grotesque memory. To actually give color to some of the details of what it's like to be in a specific place and time. I know it sounds like, yay, you want to go know that, right? But whatever morbid curiosity brings people to keep watching serial killer documentaries and Zodiac and Spotlight and whatever else, it's going to give you the same sort of satisfaction, the same sort of fulfillment of knowledge. More than that, I feel like this suggests what it feels like for a victim of the things these women went through to dissociate from their environment. The idea that these are the things they tried to focus on to distract themselves is haunting. And it's the sort of thing that makes you look at the world a little bit differently, and you might need to. There's a passage of dialogue between Toohey and a character named Lanny. She simply says, "Do you think it's normal for men to make so many payoffs?" And he says, "I do, yeah." She said is an opportunity for voices to be clear, loud, and not disturbed by people responding to them. And sometimes you need that. So there are a lot of people who will walk out of this movie or stop watching it partway through or feel for some reason some sort of resentment towards it. And, you know, the callback of the title back to He Said, She Said, I think is a little bit genius. Just point out she said and the power of somebody talking and speaking and what that does for themselves. Between Ashley Judd and Jennifer Ale, they deliver a certain catharsis just from having had the opportunity to tell their truth. And I think that's the great thing about any movie that we watch, which is you gain a little bit of empathy and a little bit of perspective from a story finally being told, and that there's power in that. And if we try and take away someone's story, we try and take away a little bit of their power. Needs that feel socially acceptable are easy to shout out and talk about. Needs that maybe should be normalized but are not currently the norm are going to be met with a lot of friction until they become the social norm. I see a lot of people, I saw, it was funny, very specifically the New York Post claimed that this is a movie people didn't want, and already a lot of the reviews can reflect that is not true. And I thought it was funny that the post in the movie was... Anyways, I strongly recommend that people watch it. It definitely gives you the fix of an investigative journalism movie. I'm not going to say that it's perfect. I'm going to say that there are shades of other movies that are familiar. And when a movie reminds me of other movies, a lot of times it leaves me questioning, you know, what is inherent to this movie that stands on its own. But Carey Mulligan, Zoe Kazan, Jennifer Ale, and Ashley Judd make it work. And then you get to see Andre Braugher just be the guy who hangs up phones, and I absolutely adored that. Andre Braugher could just be a character in any movie I watch from now on who's like, all right, we've had enough of this, and just barges into the room suddenly and hangs up whatever phone somebody's on and just, like, you know, puts the button on every conversation. It was really satisfying to see him in that position. So yeah, I mean, I am late to a good movie, but I couldn't not talk about it because it made me think about things differently. And when movies are able to move me or make me think, that's what I want to watch, and that's what I want to be out there in the world. And if I don't vote through the traffic that I give it, then what am I doing with my time? So, yeah.